Hey, what's going on, y'all? Hey, man, yesterday I had an interesting encounter when I was in Little Rock, Arkansas. Man, I had got a few bags of fruit, and I was just giving it out to people that needed it. And I was getting out to my last bag, and I was near the Riverwalk, that little road by the Riverwalk in Little Rock, Arkansas, and I had saw this woman who presumed to be like she was in need of food. So I was at the intersection. I was turning left, and she was at the intersection about to cross the street right in front of me while I'm turning left. And I rolled my window down, and I was like, "Hey, you need some food?" And I had I had a bag of apples up at the out the window, as far as I could, at least from the driver's side to the passenger side. And she didn't even look to my right or to her right, which would have been looking towards me. She looked straight, and she hear me at first, and I said it again, and I think she did hear me the first time, but she was ignoring me, and she was like, "I'm not selling myself," except she didn't say selling myself. She said the P word. I'm not sure if we can say the P word on TikTok or not, so I'm not gonna say it. It's like I'm not selling myself. I'm like, what? It's like, ma'am, it's fruit. Like, if you just look, you will see it out the window. And it's like I said, I'm tired of y'all coming up. I'm not selling myself. But she used the P word, right? And I thought about that when she said that. Then I looked behind her. There was a couple that was watching the whole situation. They looked at her, they looked at me, and I looked at them, and I looked at her. I'm like, all right, well, I'm not gonna fight you, cause like there's just there's no need, you know. So then I just went on about my way, and I found somebody that needed it, and I gave it to them, and I was out. And at that moment, I thought about how upset she might have been, because how often does that happen, or how often has that happened to her? How often does that happen to women in Little Rock, Arkansas? And let's make it bigger. How often does it happen to women in the U.S.? Make it bigger. How often does it happen to women in the world, right? And I started reflecting on that too, thinking about my life, about the women that I attracted in my life, whether it be from a romantic or a platonic um, relationship standpoint, where I have had people that I've known that have been abused, whether it be mentally, sexually, and it's from all dynamics too, from whether it be from in the church, from a relationship they had, like a boyfriend, or even at a work dynamic, from a coworker. And I was thinking about that, and I'm like, wow, like how how do they get through that? You know what I mean? Because that's not acceptable. That's not acceptable. Because I'm over here really trying to be kind-hearted and help this woman out, random woman, and her first reaction was to, hey, I'm not selling myself, and she didn't even look my way. You know what I'm saying? She just saw me in her peripheral, right? And I'm just holding up the film. I was like, just look. But like, I can't get mad at her, because that's her reaction. That's the world she's living in, right? That's her reality that she has to deal with. Think about that, right? That's the reality that she has to deal with, where there are constant men or people approaching her, wanting to abuse her. Whether it be, like I say, her body, her and even if it from a sexual standpoint, that messes with their brain, mental, right? And they have to live with that. And I knew someone that had to live with that, and that traumatized them for a while, where they're afraid to be in a dynamic, in a group dynamic, because of that situation. You know, actually, a couple of people, not just one person, but it it made me think about that. I'm like, wow, because like that is that is traumatic, right? Put yourself in their shoes. Think about how traumatic that would be. How traumatic that is, where someone has to deal with that, and that trauma follows them the rest of their lives, right? Because first of all, healing is a life journey, and then you can be going on out your way, living your life, years later on down the road from that moment, and then something pops up into your reality and it could trigger you, right? I was just thinking about that. I was thinking about a lot of stuff that involved that, and it all started with me just trying to give this woman who seemed like she needed some food some apples along the road, and um, I hope people are aware of that. You know what I'm saying? And that we're all human. You know what I mean? We all live in different realities, right? There's so many realities going on at one time, right? People live in their own reality right now, and who knows what perception or what they might be perceiving in their own reality. But definitely something to be aware of, and it makes you want to, or hopefully it makes others want to, lead with love more, be gentle more, be understanding more, be more empathetic more, you know, be more caring about this human being, right? Because this human being's life matters, and with her being in a need of food, in need of, like I say, presumed need of food and potentially shelter, and I could see how people would even want to view people in those situations as um, disposable, right? Oh well, they ain't got nothing. They're disposable. No, they're still human. You know what I'm saying? They're still human because because not everybody that ends up in that situation, not everyone that ends up in that situation, it is some people haven't had, they didn't have a choice. Some people were forced that road. You know what I'm saying? Some people chose their peace to go down that road. And obviously there's always the other side of the spectrum, but my point is they're still human, right? And I was just thinking about the abuse from all standpoints in regards of women, like like I say, sexual, psychological, right? And verbal, so um, but like I say, it makes you put a lot of things in perspective and the different realities we all live in. So definitely recommend a lot more love in this world, and more understandings for others, and just to empathize with each other, to be able to help each other heal and get through the things that we all go through, which is life.